everyone, I am here with an interesting and updated information. Why China is forcing to produce more babies. Statistics last week confirmed that China's population is officially shrinking as more people died than were born. This has been expected, but it has still revived debates in the country about how to avert the demographic crisis brought on by a shrinking workforce unable to support a rapidly aging population. It has become a challenge by 35 years of limiting most families to a single family. China's first population decline in 60 years sounds demographic alarm. Nationalist commentators and some demographers have called for an all-out government campaign encouraging more births, but other experts argue this is not the solution and will put pressure on women to prioritize children over their careers. Stuart Gittel-Bastin, a scholar at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, said having more babies is not going to increase productivity. He also added having more babies is not going to fix the pension system. Having more babies is not going to reduce youth unemployment. A more viable solution, he suggested, is for China to redouble efforts to improve the social safety net, pensions, and health care, as well as to move up the value chain and allow the nation as a whole to shift from relying on abundant cheap labor. Many in China's middle class would prefer the government, except that the country cannot reproduce its way out of its demographic challenges and instead focus on better supporting those who decide to have children by reducing the financial burden and securing career opportunities. Even before the most recent announcement, young and highly educated middle class Chinese were growing increasingly anxious about official encouragement to have multiple babies after the one child policy was abandoned in 2016. Yan Zhou, a sociologist at the University of Michigan, conducted interviews and found many young Chinese worried that gender discrimination in the workplace would get even more worse. Employers grow increasingly hesitant to hire women workers, fearing that they will have not just one but two or more children. The one child policy inflicted suffering on a huge scale through forced abortions, sterilizations, and fines for having more children than quotas allowed. But it did have some positive outcomes for gender equality. Only daughters benefited from reduced competition with male siblings for parental attention and investment of time and money in education. Some of those interviewees saw the limitation as a gradual against being expected to have more children than they wanted. Many urban women developed a vision of paid employment where it meant independence, it meant having individualistic pursuits, it meant having a life of their own. Zoe said, the pressure and cost of education is dissuading many families from having more than one child. For a long time, encouraged families to raise what government officials call high quality children who are highly educated and motivated, but that is an ideal that hardly anyone can obtain because the costs are so high, said Kellingsley, a lecturer in international development at Brighton University of Birmingham. This really increased anxiety among even middle class families, leading them to ask what's the point. In the days since the statistics put the spotlight back on this issue, hashtag saying, is it important to have descendants or the reasons you don't want to have a child, have drawn debate on Weibo, the Chinese equivalent of Twitter. Some users took issue with often male commentators who argued more births, responding that while having a child should be anyone's right, it isn't anyone's responsibility. Facing a demographic crisis, China is allowed to have 3 children per family. In online debates, many commentators suggested that protecting women's rights in the workplace is essential to raise the birth rate. Ren Zapping, an economist who works with Yuva Population Research Institute, asked his Weibo followers to vote for policy support options after 126,000 votes. The top result was subsidies and for parents, and in close second place was greater support for women's career interest. Others use the recent neologism, which combines the characters for human and for a mine or mineral deposit, to voice displeasure at being treated like a raw resource exploited for economic ends. The term, which can perhaps be translated as human, joins a growing lexicon of China's disaffected youth, alongside laying flat, let it rot, and involution, all of which are used to capture frustration with government expectations of hard work and sacrifice without the offer of rewards. Some shared a sentiment attributed to Chinese writer Eileen Chang: if a child is born to inherit your own toil, panic, and poverty, then not giving birth is also a kindness. A college student surnamed Zhu said she posted the quotation because it captured a sense of heart attack and grievances that fueled her reticence over having children. To put it bluntly, I don't have enough money, and I don't believe I will be able to give my children a relatively prosperous life in the future, she said, declining to give her full name for fear of reprisals for speaking to the foreign media. Another hot topic online was the need to face the risk of harm during pregnancy and childbirth. Another lady who is 34 years old said she works at a state firm in China, decided against having a second child after complications during the delivery of her daughter 4 years ago. A prolonged labor and a high fever ended with the traumatic emergency cesarean section. After the initial health care, she reflected on the kind of the life she wanted and rejected entries from her parents and in-laws to consider having more children. The impact of raising kinds of kids on my careers is not bad. It's more that I am no longer free in the trivial matters of life, she said. I can count on my fingers the number of times I have eaten out in recent years. The people are not ready for producing more babies. They are happy with one child policy. It has become tough to bear one child expenses, but government is forcing them to have 3 children. The situation is getting worse. People are also protesting against 3 children policy in China. On the other hand, the old population is increasing day by day in China. The expenses are increasing. People are worried about their career. They want better life and secured future. What will be the future of China? COVID-19 is another cause for more deaths in China and shrinking population. The current population of China is 1.453 billion as of Tuesday, January 2023. Based on Worldometer elaboration of the latest United States data, China 2020 population is estimated at 1.439 billion people at mid-year according to UN data. China population is equivalent to 18.47% of the total world population. China ranks number 1 in the list of countries and dependencies by population. The population density in China is 153 per kilometer square. Median age in China is 38.4 years. The population decline is particularly observed in China's one-child policy, which for more than 35 years limited couples to only have one child. Women caught going against the policy were often subject to forced abortions, having fines and eviction. Alarmed by the falling birth rate in recent years, the government scrapped the rule. In 2015, it allowed couples to have 2 children, and in 2021 raised this to 3. But the policy change and other government efforts, such as offering financial incentives, have had efforts for various reasons. High living and education costs are skyrocketing. Property prices are major factors. Many people, especially in cities, face wages, fear, job opportunities, and work hours that make it both difficult and expensive to raise one child, let alone 3. These issues are very worse. That often places the bulk of household work and child care on women who, more educated and financially independent than ever, are increasingly unwilling to bear this unequal burden. Women have also reported facing discrimination at work based on their marital or parental status, with employers often reluctant to pay maternity leave. Some cities and provinces have begun introducing measures such as maternity leaves and expanded child care services, but many activists and movements say it's far from enough. Its population is already aging and its workforce shrinking, placing tremendous pressure on the younger generation. Some demographers said the Chinese economy is entering a critical transition phase, no longer able to rely on an abundant, cost competitive labor force to drive industrialization and growth. Some others says as the supply of workers begins to shrink, productivity growth will need to pick up to sustain the economy's heady pace of expansion. Given its role in driving the global economy, China's challenges could have implications for the rest of the world. The pandemic has illustrated how China's domestic problems can affect the flow of trade and investment, with its lockdowns and border controls disrupting supply chains. Not only would a slowing Chinese economy drag on global growth, it could threaten China's ambitions of overtaking the United States as the world's largest economy. China also looks like this year to lose its place as the world's most populous nation to India, whose population and economy are both booming. India will be the biggest winner. Chinese officials have ramped up efforts to encourage larger families, including through a multi agency plan released last year to strengthen maternity leave and offer tax deductions and other perks to families. As government is continuously trying to insist people to have three children policy, it's the time to see how China will overcome this problem. I hope this video will be informative for you. If you like this video, then please subscribe my channel, hit the bell icon to watch more latest and interesting videos. Thank you.